I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. We're going to be talking about how you position your local brand for uptake in the domestic market. But for anyone who knows me, also knows that I never start a talk without doing a little breathing exercise. And this is just to energize ourselves, get some oxygen to flood our brain so we can really absorb the information we are receiving today. It's super simple, okay? Don't worry. We're going to do 4 short breaths followed by 1 long breath. I'm going to demonstrate and then we're going to do it together, okay? So it looks like this. Okay, we're going to do that and we're going to repeat that 4 times. Okay, I can't see you, so I don't know if you're doing it, but I'm relying on you actually doing this now, okay? It'll really help you feel amazing. So here we go. How are you feeling? I hope you're feeling great. If you're feeling good, put it in the chat. Should be feeling a bit of tingling, and that's just the oxygen hitting your brain. Okay, so let's talk about brand positioning. What is it? Well, basically, it is how your product or service is perceived by your customers or your target market. And this is very key. It's how your customers perceive your product or your service, not what you think about it and how you think it's positioned. It's their perception. So for instance, let's say I want to buy a bottle of wine and I go to a wine exhibition and there are lots of tables, hundreds of people telling me how great their particular wine is. The noise is overwhelming. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, how do I choose? And that's a little bit how people in this day and age, even when you go to ShopRite, it can be quite overwhelming because there are so many brands there. How do you choose? Now, if you're a small company and you haven't positioned your brand well and let people know about it, then usually what happens is that the consumer will probably go for the big brand, the brand that they've kind of seen and they feel comfortable with. So it's a real challenge for us as smaller companies to really position our product so people choose our product when they see this range and don't become overwhelmed. Now, how do you do that? How do you differentiate yourself? Well, there's 3 things you have to keep in mind. So the first thing is you always have to stay true to yourself, true to your passion, true to what makes your company so great. So to give you an example, for Umoyo, our brand values are quality, natural, and integrity. So if we take one of our products, say the baobab juice. The baobab juice, you know, there's real baobab in there. We haven't put some flavoring or some artificial coloring there. It's real baobab. It's quality. It's natural. It's healthy for you. The integrity part for us is what says on the label, that's what's in the product, right? So that product is very much in line. It's true to who we are as a brand. Now, if Umoyo suddenly one day got this brilliant idea that we were going to produce a kiwi drink, and there are no kiwis in Zambia. So we're going to flavor it with this artificial flavor and put some amazing green artificial color in there. And we might produce a very cool drink. But this drink now is not true to who we are. It's not true to our brand. Okay, so number 1, you just have to always make sure you stay true to who you are. The second part is you got to be relevant. You got to solve a problem that people actually have, that you got to do something that people are interested in. Okay, so to give a bit of a stupid example, but it illustrates the point well, let's say I am passionate about mice. I'm not, but let's say I am. And I develop, you know, I make these little mice mazes, and if they get to the end, they get a treat, and it's so cool, and I can talk about it for hours. But if I put it in ShopRite, is anyone going to buy it? No, it's not relevant. They don't care. It's not solving a problem that they're interested in or that's close to them. So I was staying true to who I was passionate, but it wasn't relevant. You got to have both. The third thing that you have to look at is that you have to differentiate. And you can do this on so many different levels. Some of the other speakers have already touched on this. So you can differentiate on price. That could be a low price, but it could also be a high price. It could be the quality of the product. You know, so for some things, if I know that sorry, this is my little cat. For some things, if I know that I'm not really going to use the product a lot of times, maybe I go for a low quality product, you know. But if it's something that I want to use, let's say I'm going to buy a fridge and I want it to last 10, 20 years, then quality suddenly is important to me. So you can differentiate on quality. Convenience is another one, as well as service. You got to find your niche. So just as an example, like I remember thinking years ago, you have Melissa Supermarket in Kambalonga, right? I'm sure you've all shopped there at some point. And then suddenly you have Pick and Pay in Woodlands that opens up, and then Pick and Pay down Kambalonga Central. And then you have the new ShopRite Select Pinnacle, and then you have Levanwika Mall. So you now have 5 supermarkets on one stretch of road. And I'm thinking to myself, if I were Melissa, I would like, oh my goodness, how are we going to compete in this? How did they differentiate themselves? Well, I'm a customer there. So in my mind, how they differentiated is convenience and service. I drive up, I can get in there super quick, right? Someone gives me a trolley. If I buy a lot and I need another trolley, someone immediately spots that and brings me another trolley. At the checkout, someone helps me take the products out of the trolley to the till. They even get boxes. I don't even have to ask. And once I've paid, some guy is already taking my trolleys to the car. They know my car. So they've differentiated themselves on convenience and service, even though maybe like ShopRite Selected Pinnacle might have more quality products, a better range, yet I still love to shop at Melissa. So they have found their niche. And that's what we have to do. But in order to do that, you need to know who your customer is. This is so key. And Bridget spoke about this. Even Trevor spoke about this. But I'm gonna reiterate this because repetition is the mother of all skill. Remember that. Okay, so you need to know who your customer is, and you need to think about this. You need to write it down. Make sure it is crystal clear in your head who your ideal customer is, who is your target market, because I can tell you, if it is not clear in your mind, it will definitely not be clear in your target market's mind. Once you've figured out where your brand fits in, which is really, really important. The next thing is, of course, you got to communicate that. Because like I said, brand positioning is how your customer or your target market perceive your brand. So how do you get that message out? There are a few things that I've learned along the way that you got to keep in mind. Firstly, don't just go out there starting to talk about how amazing your company is, because it's not about you. Okay, so don't start just listing all the amazing things about your product or service and all the benefits. You got to start with your customer. Actually, you got to fall in love with your customer. And this is very difficult for us entrepreneurs because we fall in love with our product. We fall in love with our service because we're obsessed with it. We put so much time and effort and we know how brilliant it is. So of course, it becomes very natural for us to want to tell everyone, oh, did you know my product can do this and this? I mean, within the health industry, if I come out with a new product, we're selling a new product, it's very easy for me to we got to tell people, have you seen how many vitamins there are in there and the minerals and the enzymes? It's got antioxidants too and phytonutrients. Oh my goodness. But that is not what's going to sell your product. Listing the features or the benefits, it's not how you sell your products. You sell your products through feeling, through the emotional response that people get when they think about your product or when they buy your product, or when they consume your product. That's what's going to sell your product. And in order to understand this, a great place to start is by asking yourself, what business am I in? Honestly, just ask yourself that question and write down the answer. What business am I in? So for Umoyo, just as an example, I could have said, well, I'm in the business of importing and manufacturing quality natural health products that I sell through wholesale and retail. Okay, that's factually correct. But is that going to elicit any kind of emotional response from someone? No, it's dead. It's like boring. There's no energy there. So what you do, you take it a step further. You ask yourself, what business am I really in? Okay, take it a step further. And now I want you to think about how to elicit some kind of emotion in that. So once again, let's do Umoyo. Umoyo could be, I'm in the business of providing quality natural health products that make people feel amazing, giving them the energy to go out and fulfill their potential. You see the difference? There, I mean, if someone asks me at a cocktail party, hey, Kim, what do you do? And I tell them, well, you know, I provide these natural health products that make you feel amazing. It will give you the energy to go out and fulfill your potential. Now that would get them excited. They would probably want to know more instead of me just saying, oh, I import and manufacture natural health products. Okay, so ask yourself, what business am I really in to get to that point? Okay, so I'm just trying to think of a luxury brand locally. Maybe we can take an international example. So for instance, if I'm going to buy a handbag and I'm going to buy a Louis Vuitton handbag, okay, like luxury, it costs a freaking fortune. Now, why am I buying that handbag? Are they in the handbag business? Are they actually selling me a handbag? Yeah, I'm going to get a handbag, but that's not the business they are in. They are in the luxury business. I'm buying that handbag to make myself feel special, significant, like I deserve that handbag, right? They are in that business compared to, for instance, I could go down to Mr. Price and get a handbag there, right? But it's a completely different experience. It elicits a completely different feeling, emotion. They're both selling handbags. You could say they're both in the handbag business, but no, they're not. What business are you really in? Okay, answer that question. Now, this is where you now have to learn how to tell a story. Stories are so important when you build your brand and when you want to position it, because stories are how we communicate, how we have been communicating for centuries, for eons, yeah? And there is a way to tell a story. It follows a formula. It's like a recipe, like if the Hollywood people, they have learned how to tell good stories. And actually, there are only like 9 to 12 stories that you can tell. But anyway, there's a formula. And I'm going to touch on the 3 main things that you have to include when you tell a story. Now, we can make it more sophisticated, but for this, we only have 20 minutes. So 3 main things that you have to touch on when you're telling a story in order to communicate where your brand sits, where it's positioned. Number 1, you got to state the problem that you're going to solve. What is the customer's problem? Now, the problem that you solve will determine the value of the product in your customer's mind. The greater this problem is for that person, the more interested they will be in your product, the greater value your product will provide for them. But you got to state the problem, make it very, very clear to them. This is the problem. Then you got to state the solution. That's number 2, state the solution. That is your product or your service. So your product or service is going to solve that problem. It's the solution. And then number 3, you got to state the result. You got to actually walk the customer through and say, this is your problem. This is how it's going to be solved with our product. And this is going to be the result. You know, you got to go through those 3 steps. So just to give Umoyo as an example, the problem would be this. Many of us struggle to eat healthy and hence lack the energy and vitality to lead our best life. That's the problem. What's the solution? Umoyo offers a range of quality natural products that boost your health. That's the solution. And then the result, you'll feel amazing with energy to go out and fulfill your dreams. Okay, so I've stated the problem, the solution, which is our product or service, and the result. And that's what you have to figure out for each product or service that you offer. You have to figure that out, but it has to be short. It's got to be simple, simple, simple. If you confuse, you will lose the customer. Okay. All you got to do is help people understand how your product solves their problem. That's what you're going to do, but you have to communicate it in that way. So it's very, very easy for them to understand. Now, a key thing in this is you're not the hero. Okay. In this story, Umoyo is not the hero. No. Your customer is the hero. You have to invite the client into the story where they become the hero when they use your product. So for the Umoyo example, if you use an Umoyo product, you will get that amazing energy to go out and fulfill your dreams. They're the hero by using our product. Okay. So you're not the hero. Don't position yourself as the hero. Invite the client as the hero. Once you have figured out what your story is and there is emotion in there, then of course you have to communicate this. And when you are communicating this to the customer, you got to use video wherever you can. I cannot stress how important this is for everyone, but especially for us smaller companies. Video is where you need to be. Just get video into your head. That is where you need to be. Why? Well, firstly, people are 4 times more likely to watch video than to read text, for instance, on social media. And of course, people don't really read anymore. They just skim, but 4 times more likely to watch a video. It's also one of the most engaging content formats on social media. And usually video gets 10 times more engagement than text. And then if that was enough, people retain the information they get from video better than they do from text. And of course, that's again, because people don't really read, they just skim, they just check out a few words here and there. But also people are more likely to share social media posts, twice more likely to share actually, if it has video content than just text. So you got to use video. Now, this is where I usually hear a lot of excuses. People are like, I don't feel comfortable behind the camera, or I don't have the right equipment. I can't afford the right equipment. Or, I don't have a marketing team who can edit these cool videos. Listen, you start with what you have. You don't have to be perfect. Okay. Especially if you're a smaller company, nobody expects you to be perfect. You just got to get the content out there. So, when I start, firstly, you can use your phone. Just use your phone. You don't even need a stand. You can just hold your phone. Most phones take perfectly okay video these days. Then you say you don't feel comfortable behind the camera. You can do like 50 takes. I do that often. It doesn't matter. Nobody will ever know. You just delete all of them and you just choose the best one. Do as many as it takes. And the more time you do this, the more comfortable you become, the more natural it will feel. Okay. And then in terms of the editing, there's so many apps these days that you can download on your phone. So you can take it on your phone, you can edit it and upload it. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but you have to do it. You have to do it very, very consistently. So video is the way forward. And then fourthly, you just got to stay consistent. And just keep doing what you're doing day in and day out. It can't be that you're building your brand and you're doing all the marketing around it and then you don't do anything for a few months. You've got to be consistent every single day, because like Trevor, our last speaker said, there's just so much information out there, and you have to be able to get some, people have to hear your voice as well. But basically, most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they completely underestimate what they can do in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, if they are just consistent. So today, I urge you all, take some action with regards to your brand, your marketing, and do something to move you just a step ahead. It can be a small step. I ask myself at the end of every day with regards to Umoyo, did we take a step forward today? Doesn't matter how small, but did we move forward today? And if the answer is yes, it was a good day, because all those small steps, they stack. You gotta be consistent and keep moving forward. And that means also you gotta be consistent with your brand, with your positioning of the brand. So you can't position your brand here and the next day position it here and then over there. You gotta just be consistent. This is who we are. This is the problem we solve. And you just reinforce that message, reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. And soon that will be the message that penetrates into people's minds. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope you found some of that useful and that I could inspire some of you to do something. And remember, do something today with your brand, with your marketing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kim, for that wonderful presentation. It was very, very insightful. My question is in regards to the creation of the videos. Like in your particular brand, who exactly does it, right? Is your team involved in the creation of the videos? Because that's, I think, the challenge that I am having. It looks like I'm the only one in my company that is concerned about that. And I find it difficult to convince or to encourage my team to create such kind of videos. So maybe if I can get some help in how that can be done.
Sure. So it starts with you. So you keep doing your thing every day, challenge yourself to maybe just do a short video every single day. It starts with you. You're going to set the example. And then it's up to you to communicate the vision, the brand to your team. It has to be very clear, because if they, usually the founder or, the entrepreneur, they have a very clear understanding of what their brand is, where the positioning is, but you have to now be able to communicate that to your team so they know what to focus on. So for instance, with the story of what your company does, make sure they understand that, and they can ask you questions and you can answer those, so that when they're creating videos, it's very much in line with your brand. Okay, so that's something you're going to have to oversee all the time. And I think the next thing is, if that's not their job, if they're not really a marketing person or, someone in digital marketing within your company, it's just maybe an employee and you would love for them to take some video, maybe you just have to make it part of their job, So for instance, at Umoyo, I produce video, but I am not on the ground. I'm not in the shops, and we want client testimonials and we want people to understand our products better. So for instance, our shop manager now has to contribute at least 2 videos every single day from the shops. And she does that by interviewing clients, or maybe by having one of the shop staff talk about the product, because they know the products inside and out, and she just gives them some direction. But that's now part of her job description, so that it actually happens. But it starts with you, and you producing content and then leading the way and making sure you really communicate your brand to your team so that they feel confident in producing that video as well. Okay, thanks.